Hello again, it's Trudy here from Hotpatterns with another lovely little YouTube clip for you. This one is about a brand new pattern that we've just released. It's this gorgeous little skirt. This is the Jones Kyoto skirt. And we've got two clips for you today, and what I wanted to do with the first one, this one, is to go through the basics of the skirt with you, a little bit of construction detail, and also what to wear with it and what body shapes it suits. So we're going to start off by telling you that this is obviously the Kyoto skirt, and we rated this for an advanced beginner. And you might be looking at this, or you might be looking at the pattern illustration on our website and say, are you serious, advanced beginner? There's a lot going on that skirt. And there's lots and lots of details on this, and I will go through them with you very, very shortly. But what I would say is that although there are a lot of details, they're actually not hard to do. It really just slides together very, very easily, and so as long as you're happy to spend the time doing the details, you can do them. But also, when you see the variations I've done for you, you'll see that you can use as many or as few of these details as you want to. So it's really a very, very kind of useful pattern to adapt to your particular taste for that. So with this, I've got so many details, I've had to make some notes. If you see me referring to my notes, you'll know what I'm doing. So what I wanted to do, oh yes, I wanted to go through all the design details with it. Okay, first thing to tell you is this one has got an elasticated waist. Now, we really don't often do that, but this is really a very casual kind of weekend piece. And the nice thing about this is it's not a hugely gathered elasticated waist, it's really quite kind of toned down. And you can adjust the tightness with it with these toggles at the side. Of course, you don't have to use that, you can just elasticate the waist, don't bother with the toggles if you don't want to. Really, again, it's your choice. But this is a nice way to make a kind of, almost like a sweatpant alternative, you know, comfy enough to wear at the weekends, comfy enough to wear running around, but it's not going to constrict you. And you know, not everyone can wear a fitted waistband. Some people, they're either not comfortable with them, they don't suit them, they just don't like them. This is a really good alternative. So one of the next detail that you see going downwards, and I will get Joey to zoom in on this in a moment, is the really nice piping and top stitching along the curved hip yoke here. So now that the lovely Mr. Spielberger has zoomed in for us, we can see a little bit of the top stitching and the piping. And what I've done on this one is I have done 5 rows above and 5 rows below the piping insert here. And this is something that you need to bear in mind. When you're doing multiple rows of top stitching, you need to decide how many rows you're going to do. And I'll tell you what works, and this will sound really bizarre and kind of a little bit convoluted, but trust me on this. When you're choosing the amount of rows to do on top stitching, you want a prime number. Yeah, I know it's mathematics, just bear with me. So you want either one, a prime number is something that can be divided only by itself, or 1. So you want 1 row, or 2 rows, or 3 rows, or 5 rows, or 7 rows. You wouldn't do 4 rows. 4 rows, for some reason, I can't tell you why, it just looks wrong. So stick with 1, 2, 3, or 5. Really, I promise you it works. So we've got 5 rows above and 5 rows below. Now, when I was constructing this, and this is one of the reasons we make a prototype to make sure the construction details are perfect, I realised that if you actually just try and seam this curved seam all together at once, it's going to distort really, really badly. So what I did with this was I interfaced the back of the curved seam here and here, all the way up to the waistband at the back and all the way this way. And I also did that on the back seam, not on the godot, but the seam that the godot goes into. And I did that because it stabilised it beautifully. It meant you could just put your piping in and it was really nice and flat. Now when you do that on this one, what you really, really, really need to do is you need to make sure that you use either a knit or a woven interfacing on the inside. In fact, I'm going to turn it inside out now and show you what I mean. So this is the prototype of the Kyoto, flipped inside out and put back on the stand just so you can see a couple of these construction details. And you remember a moment ago I said to you, you've got to interface those seams. Well, you really do. And this is one of the reasons why I make a prototype. You may not, you may go from muslin straight to finished garment, but I always make a prototype so I can work out these little fiddly details. And here is something I discovered, which is, yes, I've got to interface those seams here, but actually just doing an inch wide when you're doing lots of top stitching doesn't work. You need about 2 inches to cover the whole top stitching. And I learnt that by doing this and kind of fiddling around with it. But what I wanted to show you was the fact that I've used here a woven interfacing. And if you use a woven or a knit, you won't have really a problem with this. You can just persuade it around the curve, both on this one and on this one. But if you use one of those kind of felted ones, you know, the ones that are just non-woven that you can't rip because they just kind of shred, you're going to have a problem because it's just going to clump and look awful. So I really recommend good quality interfacing, knit or woven, and you're going to be really good. Now, the next detail I want you to have a look at is our fabulous bellows pockets. I love a bellows pocket. It's a very, very good way to make any kind of item look sort of casual. So I'm going to show you them here. This is our lovely bellows pocket. Ooh, 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 fabulous. And I've lined the flaps with the contrast because that looks really good. And this one here is obviously not lined. The pocket isn't lined. You don't need it because you don't need all that kind of stiffness. And the thing with the bellows pocket is it's kind of a 3D pocket. You've got that side piece there that makes it stand away from the body a little bit. So that's our bellows pocket, and they look great, and they're applied just over the side seam like this. Now on a skirt like this, we would never normally put our pocket position, and there's a really good reason for that. Not just that I'm lazy, I don't want to put it on, I promise you. It's that it depends on what you like. It depends on what position you like it in, where it looks best on you. You might want it higher, lower, more to the front, whatever. You can, in fact, with this one, actually apply it on top of this hip yoke stitching here. Really, it's up to you, whatever you want to do. So moving down to the bottom of this, you'll see we've got a top stitch hem with kind of a deep hem, and you can see inside I've used the contrast again, and you know I'm a huge fan of bias cut hem facings. I think they give a really good look, they hold the skirt nicely, so I used that on this. And the other thing to show you on the back is, ooh, pretty, is this lovely kind of sushi gode. Of course, we're picking up threads everywhere here. Lovely sushi gode, which is a little bit longer at the back than it is at the front. It's about 2.5 to 3 inches, depending on what size you use. And this gives a really nice kind of swooshy look. When you're walking, it's very kind of swingy, almost like a modern version of a bustle, which is really, really good. So that's your basic details of this. And I hope that's really helpful to go through them with you. But I'm also now going to tell you what you can wear it with, and what it suits and why it suits everybody. Okay, first thing to tell you is that with a skirt with all this kind of detail, you really want to keep the top half relatively low key. So you could go for a very, very understated t-shirt, something like the plain and simple fitted tee. You could do, as we've done here, the Weekender Sunshine tee, really any kind of top that is nice and simple and understated. And I would really recommend a solid colour. Even if this is a solid colour, you've got a lot of business going on here. So you need to keep this as a solid colour. And it's a very, very useful outfit to wear really throughout the summer. I mean, you could wear it to work quite easily, but it's definitely a weekend and sort of casual wear piece, so it's very, very useful for that. Now, I'm going to tell you what body shapes it suits. Now, this may sound like a real cop-out to you, but I promise you it really, really isn't. This is one of those pieces that suits an awful lot of body shapes and sizes and types. And I know I say this about a lot of our pieces, but one of the things we do when we're selecting a style to do is we think, well, is this going to suit the majority of people? And that's one of the reasons we select what we select. So you will find an awful lot of our skirts are a very similar silhouette to this. This is really a narrow A-line, very, very similar in silhouette to the plain and simple 24/7 A-line skirt that I showed you in another clip. And the reason a narrow A-line suits everybody, well, it's actually pretty simple. When you're looking for a shape that will suit most people, you have to think about what's the most desirable shape. What do people really want to look like? And the truth is, most of us want to look hourglassy. We basically want to go from the shoulders and bust, in at the waist, out at the hips. That's what we're aiming for. And any garment that mimics that silhouette that goes in at the waist and out of the hips is going to give you that. And that's what a narrow A-line does. In at the waist, gently curving out over the hips and kicking out towards the hem. And one of the reasons that this is so successful is your bellows pockets actually accentuate the kicking out of the hem issue, which makes your waist look even smaller, which is never a bad thing, quite frankly. So when I say to you that this will suit virtually any size and any shape and any body type, I really, really mean it. The waistband sits at the natural waist, which suits everybody's waist shape. You know, people can have a natural waist, they can have a short waist, they can have a long waist. This one works on everybody because it's at the neutral waist, so it looks good on everyone. Narrow A-line shape also looks good on absolutely everybody. I promise you it does. Even if you don't like the look of an A-line skirt, I would still say you need to try one because it does work on everybody. And of course with this one, because it is so kind of casual and kind of just elasticated through here, it can be made to fit you as tightly or not as you wish. And like I say, you can always adjust this on the toggles there. And the next variations I'm going to show you, I hope you'll see how many different looks, or just a few of the different looks you can get from this pattern, because it's really, really useful to see.